But what I also want you to look out for is let those images just come to you, and then let this incredible music sweep you away, because what you are in for tonight is something you can't get anywhere. Nowhere does this happen. Nowhere do we hear live music with a silent film that was created for this movie and that moves with it, that says to you, it's not just the sounds that you're hearing, the composition, but what it's telling you about what you're watching, how it's the subtext for the whole movie. That sounded so academic, and I don't mean that, because you're meant to enjoy it, and I think enjoy it you will. So stay after it's over and stick with us for the Q&A. And right now, just have a great time with the Golem and the BQE project. What was I right? I would like to bring Tom Nazziola, the composer and conductor of this remarkable piece, up on stage. Do you all tend to just breathe now? I mean, this is you just need that moment. Tell us just how you and the Golem got together. How did this happen?
I actually saw this film close to 10 years ago at the World Financial Center, and there was a solo guitarist performing to it, and just as a film alone, regardless of what music was there, I was very taken by the imagery and just the techniques that were used in filming for this time when you consider when it came out. So I've been waiting for an opportunity to score it, but something of this magnitude really requires a commission. And luckily enough, Brooklyn Center for the Performing Arts was interested in having me do this. So they commissioned me over a year ago, and we premiered it in March of this year. And basically it came together. You only need one great idea to do an entire project. The first idea has to be good.
So, what is that first idea?
The first idea for this, it was actually, I heard a recording of a Turkish violin master doing what's called taksim, which is basically an improvised instrumental piece. And it was some recordings from the 30s or 40s. And I was very inspired by the sound that I heard. And all of a sudden the wheels started turning about what kind of approach I could do to this, what kind of feeling this film would have. And from that, actually before doing a note, I just felt inspired enough by what I heard to know, what I would do when I sat down with the keyboard.
What was the first scene that you scored?
Believe it or not, the opening credits.
Really?
Yeah. It's not what you would think. I didn't go to any dramatic scene or the Golem angry or something that is very visual and telling. It was, what kind of mood can we set in the opening credits? That's going to be the tone of the film.
Well, this is part of what we call German expressionism. And if you look at a lot of movies now, one of the directors I've interviewed who worships this is Tim Burton. So the first two Batman movies and Edward Scissorhands to him all come from this, from the edginess of it, the raggedness of it. When you research a movie in terms of it, the director, Paul Wegener, is the actor who played Golem. The rabbi's daughter is his wife. He married twice. He had six wives. He was a busy guy when he wasn't being the Golem. But the interesting thing that struck me is that before this one, he had made a shorter version, and then he did what is considered the first sequel in the history of movies, which was The Golem and the Dancing Girl. This is a movie where he dresses up as the Golem to get women at a party interested in him. It's the whole Hollywood mystique that existed even then. And this is a guy who stayed in Germany when the war broke out and did Nazi propaganda movies, stayed there. And so it brings up the question that when I hear this movie debated, is this movie really have a feeling for the Jewish people? Or is it just about superstition as well? Because we see this astrologer, rabbi, that's using the black arts and doing this. So that it's controversy is there about it. And yet in your score of it, I feel only compassion for what's going on. So this is you just relating to what you see on the screen, not the history, not what everybody else has been writing. And so, who is the BQE project, and why is it BQE?
It's the BQE project, as you might guess, the Brooklyn Queens Expressway. At the time that we started the group, most of the members were either in Brooklyn or Queens, so we figured that might tie it together. It gets lost outside of New York. It's basically, as I said, it's players, really the best of freelance players in the New York scene. Whenever you're in the world of film, any of the elements that are part of it, such as music or sound effects, they're meant to be subservient to the film. They're meant to bring people into the film. If I were to get your attention over here, even to react to you, then I wouldn't be doing my part as a film composer. And there are a lot of composers who don't go into film music because they can't stand the thought of maybe somebody screaming or a car honking over their soundtrack. And you have to be comfortable with the fact that what the music is there to do is to psychologically draw people into the film. What I want to happen is for you to forget about us after the first 5 minutes or so, that you see us and get into that place there so that you get lost in the movie. At least that's the way I perceive doing film scoring.
You've looked at it now countless number of times to score it and to do it. And you had something in your head when you saw the movie and decided that you would score it. Is there 30 seconds, a minute, some moment in this movie when you look at it now, after all this time, where you can say to yourself, and I'm not saying to say, I'm great, I did this, this is brilliant. I mean that that moment said something to you, to yourself about, yes, I set out to do this, and that's on the screen, and that's the sound on the screen.
The first moment that that happened and lingered was actually, it wasn't very eventful. It was when the introduction of Rabbi Yehuda, and he was in the cave or the room and wherever they were spending time alone. It was the introduction to him and Rabbi Lowe meeting for the first, not meeting for the first time, but greeting one another. And there was something about that moment of the two of them getting together and a bond between them of understanding what was happening and what their life was about. And the music that came out of that scene for me was probably the most effective or the most meaningful for me. When I watch that scene, I feel like that is this scene.
And look, it feeds right into the theme of the festival, which is connection. They connected. Wow. I mean, yes. So, Tom, BQE project, thank you all so much.
Thank you.